Alrighty, welcome everyone. It's a lovely gardening day out there again, and welcome to the Garden Show. Don Burnett, Ken Salville here today. Don is actually just out. He's down at the Garden Club's flower show, which is starting up today. I believe the gates open to the public at about 11 o'clock today. But Don's going to be calling in. He's down there right now just helping do some prep work. So he's going to be phoning in shortly. And he'll be giving us some updates of what's going on down at the flower show, and also filling you in with, how you can participate as well. And just exactly what's going on down there. But it is, again, a nice day. We're having not a lot of heat right now, and it's kind of a nice thing. You know, the temperatures are mild and sort of mellow. You know, we're just in that sort of 24 degrees Celsius range these days, which is just sort of comfortable for us here in the Okanagan. Not 100% sure what it is down in the coastal regions or down in Victoria area, but it just seems to be very nice weather. It's just reasonable, and the plants are not super excited. I think they would like a little more warmth here just to get going, but then again, it helps us conserve water, which is what it's all about these days. So, all right, looks like we're going to go straight to the phone lines and see if Don is there. Good morning, Don. Are you there?
I'm here.
Hey, how's it going there? You're down at the flower show this morning.
I am. Happy Canada Day, everyone.
Yeah.
And, we are getting set up here. It's going to be a great show. Beautiful day for it. It's not too hot, so the plants and flowers are going to hold up nicely, and it's just going to be a great show. Everything's buzzing around here. Have we done the tips and plants yet?
No, we haven't. We've been waiting for you.
Let's do that.
All right, we'll do the tips and plants of the week. You're up.
Well, my tip is to come on down to the show. Opens at 11. If you've got something to enter, you want to come down. Earlier. I think when do entries finish, Linda?
They finish at 9 o'clock.
So yeah,
still got a little
time to get your entries in.
Yeah.
9 o'clock is the final, and then the judges come in and do the judging. It's a lot of fun. I got up at 4:30 this morning, and I went around the garden and gathered what I thought would be interesting for folks, and brought it in. And
leading to the plant of the week, then obviously.
And then leading to the plant of the week. The plant of the week is, of course, the Monarda Petite Purple. I sent you a picture of it because I'd forgotten what it was. It's a tiny little Monarda that is in our garden. It comes back every year, really puts on a show, and it's just a mounding little perennial. Monarda Petite Purple.
Lovely, and that's a beautiful little bee balm is another name, but a dwarf form. All right, I also have a tip on a plant this week, and my tip of the week is that don't be too concerned if some of your plants are not taking off and growing like crazy like on previous years, just due to this very mild, cool weather we've been having. It's some plants like annuals or even your tomato plants or peppers. You sometimes are much happier if it's much warmer. So right now, we're just going to hang in there and wait for the temperatures to change. And as it warms up, we'll all be happy to see some more sunshine here possibly next weekend. So then the plants will just leap and they'll go like crazy. All right, now my plant of the week this week is the lily family. Just there's so many beautiful lilies out there. They're blooming like crazy. I have quite a few beauties that are coming on, and it's always one of my favorite times of year is when the lilies start to bloom. And they're just such a beautiful, beautiful, prolific plant. And every year that goes by, you get more and more shoots, and they just keep on being happy. It's like lilies are one of those happy plants. They just can't help but to smile at you. All right, that's my tips and plants for this week. Remember to check growercoach.com and Grower Coach on YouTube.
Well, Ken, the weather is warming up a little bit. It's 17 degrees in Kelowna in my backyard this morning, and 23 in the greenhouse.
Nice.
It's 12 in Victoria, 17 in Penticton. Highs of 26 in Kelowna and 21 in Victoria and 26 in Penticton are predicted for today. So it's warming up, and those tomato plants should be happy. Linda and I are going to go over and see a cake. I really highly recommend people to come down today to the gardens. The gardens are fabulous, and this is This is the Gooseman Gardens. This is a very historical location in Kelowna. I'll be doing a walkabout just after 1 to 1:30 in there, that neck of the woods. I'll be doing my walkabout and telling people about the history of the property.
Yeah.
And I grew up in the area, Ken, so that kind of makes it personal for me. Yeah, in my own backyard. And here we are. We're going to go into the milk shed at the Gooseman Gardens. And, oh, my goodness, there's a cake. And it is beautifully done. Holy man.
Is this celebrating 100 years, possibly?
100 years.
It's all made of flowers.
And it's made of flowers, yeah.
Ooh.
There are about 250 carnations. There's lavender, roses. What else is in there? Baby's breath, of course. Lady's mantle.
Yeah. Lady's mantle. Yeah.
Ivy.
Some ivy. Yeah. It's beautiful.
How tall would it be, Don?
Oh, it's going to be 2.5 feet tall.
Holy.
Yeah, and it's well done. It reminds me, Ken, remember we used to do the old truck up for the parades, the regatta parade.
Yeah.
We used to do the truck up in live flowers. This reminds me a lot of this. Yeah, so look at Ken, we're going to leave you, but I'll tell you, I'm going to pop down and I'll be at the station, and I do highly recommend folks to come down. The gates open for people that just want to come and see the show and to walk the gardens 11 o'clock, and you can come down and see the show. You can. There's all sorts of displays. We've got the people from. Are the Bonsai Club here?
Yes.
Yeah, the Bonsai Club's going to be here.
Bonsai Club, right on.
Yeah, and all sorts of
vendors
and lots of vendors. So it's a great show, and we're excited to be here. And I will see you in about 10 minutes in the station, Ken.
That's awesome. All right,
Okay,
thanks, son.
Okay.
Yep, good luck. Bye for now.
Bye.
All right, bye-bye. There you go. So Don Burnett's reporting in from the Flower Show. It's a Kelowna Garden Club's 100th year anniversary, and they do have their flower show each year, which is a judged flower show, and very exciting, and it's just amazing. I know we've been attending those for quite a long time. Just trying to remember, I think I did a video back in 2011, I think it was, when we were there, and Dick Bassett was there. He was one of our favorite garden club guys, and it's just been a fabulous journey along the way. Well, there you go, another season, and here we're at the longest time of the year, longest days, and so we do know that, plants do typically, some plants respond to the length of day, but just that extra sunlight seems to get plants growing, get them going, gives them more hours every day of photosynthesis to do their thing and to start to produce. Just a sort of an update, I've been out in the gardens here this whole year, watching things progress, and with the cold winter we had last year, there's still some plants that are struggling to get going. I don't know if anybody has noticed here in the Kelowna area, but the London plane trees all throughout the city seem to be suffering quite a bit, and they're showing several different symptoms. They're definitely showing some frost injury from the winter, just from that cold snap we had, which was quite a bit, I would say at least 7 or 8 degrees colder than what those plants normally can survive, but they're surviving. Now, with that damage, we see a lot of dead wood in the trees. We see a lot of the branches just looking very sparse and weak. We're seeing new leaves coming out, and now due to the temperature, as it has, it's been a bit on the cool side and sort of in the perfect range for a lot of fungus diseases to be taking off. And so we are noticing the powdery mildew showing up on a bunch of different plants, and on these London plane trees, no doubt powdery mildew showing up, especially on the tip growth. Those soft new leaves are getting attacked right now. So, it's one of those things that from year to year we have the good and the bad, and this year we're suffering from winter injury leading to several different diseases, and we're just hoping that the trees can get a foothold and start to grow back as they would normally do, get some more foliage on them and get going. And hopefully next year they're all right back to normal. All righty, we're going to go to the phone lines now, and we have Beverly on the line from Kelowna. Good morning, Beverly.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
I'm doing pretty good, thanks. How are you?
Good, thank you. I have an hydrangea question.
Sure.
I planted a hydrangea from Bylands last year, and it was full of bloom and leaves, and it was absolutely spectacular. And this year, I don't have one bud on it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that could be sort of, I'm going to call it a normal sort of situation for a lot of the hydrangeas. These are the Hydrangea macrophylla varieties, which are, for us here in the Okanagan, we tend to plant them in either partial shade or maybe a little bit of protection from the hot afternoon. But, they're a beautiful plant, but in this climate, when we do get those cold winters, they tend to freeze down lower to the ground where there are no flower buds. And some of the varieties will actually, as they mature through the summer, they'll actually start to produce flower buds a little bit later. So you might check back around the end of July, and by that time you should start to see some flower buds. But not guaranteed. Some varieties, they have to have older wood, so in other words, mature wood near the top of the plant, left over from last year in order to produce some blooms for this year. And so because of that cold snap, a lot of them ended up dying down, and we had to cut them back in the spring. And so, they're not looking.
So should I cut back now the dead pieces of it?
If there's any parts that are still showing dead wood or anything, you can snip those off for sure.
Okay.
But any leaf you have, every leaf is important at this point, especially the bigger ones, that are coming from the base of the plant. And I would just preserve those. And and I'm going to say keep your fingers crossed, but hopefully what happens is the stems will mature enough to be producing some flowers. When you're buying some of the newer varieties, and funny that some of the old varieties are actually pretty good at reblooming, and so that just means that even though they come up sort of blind in the springtime without any buds, then all of a sudden, in the end of summer they really kick in and bloom nicely. So
should I fertilize this one?
A little bit is always nice, yeah. If we just use like a general all-purpose type of fertilizer for that type of a plant. I would just say, not to really overdo it, but just keep a constant feed. What kinds of fertilizers would you normally use? Like a granular or water soluble type? Do you know?
Water soluble, and it's granular, but it dissolves in the water, and it's Miracle-Gro. Yeah,
so that you can apply no problem, and do it right now, and I'd probably repeat it about twice a month but not past. Once you're into August, that's the last fertilization for the season. So sometime around the first week or two.
Perfect. And then last year when it was the cold snap, I never did cut off the flowers. Was I supposed to?
No, it's not necessary, but the blooms, the stems that get blooms on them are less likely to flower the next year, and sometimes they'll even die back. But the newer shoots that form in late summer that have no flowers on them, those are the ones that will usually flower the next year.
Okay, so it's a 2-year process, basically.
It seems to be that way, yeah. That, like I say, it's kind of a little hit and miss. It just really is that the buds that are along the top part of those branches are the ones that produce the flowers. So, and what I do is, in the fall I'll go in and snip out the blooms from this year, and it's more or less, the blooms will add a place for snow to land and possibly break or collapse the plant. So that's why I usually would take the flowers off before winter. That's all.
Yeah, I'll do that next year if I have any flowers.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed.
Information.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thanks for calling in.
You bet. Have a good day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, so the hydrangea thing is an interesting category. There are many hydrangeas that only bloom on new growth. That means anything that happens, they will just automatically shoot up and flower every year. But these Hydrangea macrophyllas, which are what they call mop head hydrangeas or the big leaf hydrangea, they are typically more stubborn and need more mature wood to produce flowers for the next year. All right, so that's it for that part of the show. We're just going to take a short break here. We do invite your calls. Give us a call with any of your gardening questions this morning. We'll do our best to answer those questions, and we'll go from there. So stay tuned for more of the Garden Show after this short break. All righty, welcome back, everyone. Yes, it is that time of year. The vegetable gardens are starting to really get rolling now. The cold crops, or crops that like the cooler temperatures, are definitely enjoying this mild weather. I know my lettuce has been just unbelievable. It's growing like crazy. That romaine is unbelievable and so good to grow, and I'm enjoying that every day. So that's one nice thing with the cooler temperatures, is that you can really grow these plants that like the cool weather much better. Here in the heat of the Okanagan, where they normally bolt and go to seed, this year they're looking pretty good. All right, we're going to go back to the phone lines. We have Addie on the line. Good morning, Addie.
Good morning, Ken. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, thanks. Happy Canada Day.
Thank you. You as well. Tomatoes. What is the formula for not to get the brown rot at the bottom of the tomato? What is it that you spray on them?
Yeah, it's food grade calcium. And so how we get that is there's a couple different ways you can get it. They often will sell it at garden centers. I'm not sure the common name for that now. It used to be called stop rot. And it was food grade calcium you could buy in a little package, and you mix it with water, and you spray it directly onto the plants. And that
while the plant is blooming?
Oh, yeah. Well, as the fruit is setting. So, when you get the little tiny tomatoes coming on, as soon as you start seeing little tomatoes, you start applying it, and you just coat the whole plant, tops, bottoms, tomatoes, everything. And that makes sure that the calcium can get straight into the fruit, and it works very, very well. The other alternative way, of course, another food grade calcium source is when you buy calcium in a vitamin form, for human consumption. Yeah. That is food grade calcium as well. I just think that it's probably a little more expensive than just buying the regular grade stuff that you'd get at a garden.
Was there not a thing where you could use powdered milk or something?
Well, there is a home remedy that says to use powdered milk. The only thing with that is it's not in as concentrated form, and also because it is a milk product, I always see I'm going to spray that on something, and then it's going to become moistened, likely from moisture in the environment, and somewhat could be infected with bacteria and all kinds of things that come in to eat the milk as it's potentially rotting. I don't know. All I know is I'm going for the calcium, and I'm going to try to get the purest form I can. It's going to be the easiest for the plant to absorb. So I generally just recommend that food grade calcium.
Food grade calcium. And you can get them at the nurseries.
Yeah, it should be readily available, yeah.
Should it be sprayed on the tiny tomatoes too? Like, I've got a variety of little, cherry tomatoes. Do they need them too, or just the big tomatoes?
It's less required for cherry tomatoes. It seems that they're less susceptible to the blossom end rot. Larger tomato varieties seem to just grow much faster. It's not so much. I guess they just have a lot more cells that are dividing. And the cell walls are made of calcium. So as the fruits are growing, they sometimes just can't keep up with the required calcium, and then they run out. And
my other question is my spirea.
Yep.
I didn't cut them back last fall, and of course I didn't cut them back this winter. So I've got very few blossoms on them. When do you cut them back, right to within about 4 inches off the ground?
Yeah, that's got to be done early, like around the end of March. So, that's the timing for that. And that's a rejuvenation technique for a lot of the summer flowering spireas. And what I usually do is on year one, you could cut it right down to the ground like that, like literally to 4 inches tall, trim off all the dead stuff, and then let it grow back. And then the next year, you would cut it down to about 1 foot tall, and then let it grow back. And then the third year, you may not cut it back much at all and let the thing just maybe trim the top off of it. And so the plant's kind of getting bigger every year. And then when you go to the fourth year, again, you cut it right down low to that 3 to 4 inches high, and removing all the dead wood, because they're so prone to dead wood sometimes that you just don't get enough growing.
Well, mine, I inherited mine when we bought this place, and so they've got to be, 10 years old, and I think I should probably cut them right back. Can I do it this fall, or does it have to be done in March?
You're better to do it in March. Like, you can give them a light trimming in the fall just to make them look nice for the winter, but you're often best to leave that sort of mass of branches over the winter because it's, they do, all plants when they go through winter, they'll store sugars in their stems to help them survive the winter. And then so, just make them look tidy through the winter months. And then in the spring, you hit them hard, take them right down, and that's how they regenerate.
So your recommendation is that next March, cut them down to 4 inches, because they're an old plant. They've probably been around for, we've been here for 6 years now, so probably cut them right down to 4 inches off the ground.
Yeah, that's right. And that will, like I say, total rejuvenation. The plant comes back beautiful and healthy. They sometimes get a few more aphids after that because the growth is so lush and soft. But you know what? Aphids come and go, and they nothing to worry about there. Just let them be, and all the beneficial insects come in and eat all the aphids anyway, so you don't really have to do anything about it.
Yeah, just a lack of butterflies this year. I've only seen one butterfly so far. Yeah,
and I just saw, the white ones are supposed to be the most prolific, and last year there was just we had hundreds and hundreds and maybe even thousands of the white ones.
Yeah.
This year, I just saw 2 yesterday. So one of the theories is that they're just late coming on, and they're still coming. Because of the cool weather.
Wet spring.
Yeah, but, we'll see. You never know.
Yeah. Super. Thanks a lot, Ken. You have a wonderful weekend.
You too. Thanks, Addie. Take care.
Right.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Yeah, there you go. Lots of things going out there. Okay, it looks like Dawn has entered the studio. Good morning, Dawn. Nice to see you in person.
Always good to see you, too. And, it's an exciting day. The flower show's on, and it's going to be great. I just got to hand out a compliment to all the volunteers and people from the garden club that are down there right now working to get this thing going. And, gee whiz, it's free entry. You can walk right in there. 11 o'clock, the gates open. And lots going on, so I highly recommend going down there. I want to welcome Audrey Ann, our new granddaughter.
Yeah.
That's her name, Audrey Ann.
Audrey Ann, lovely.
And she is gorgeous. Well, I have to say she's probably the best-looking baby in the world, but, I mean...
you could be a little biased there.
A little bit biased. Well, I guess we're at the bottom of the hour, Ken.
Yeah, we are indeed, So we'll be taking a short break here, so... give us a call if you have any gardening questions or just want to chat today about the garden and the weather we're having or anything that's going on in the garden. Give us a call, and we'll be back right after these messages with more of the Garden Show.
Well, down at the show, what I did today was I brought my a few of my babies from the greenhouse, a collection of succulents. Mm-hmm. And some of my favorites, and so I've got a table set up there at the flower show for anybody who wants to go and have a look at some of these succulents and plants. Lots of euphorbias and lots of haworthias and gaultherias, not gaultheria, other gasterias.
Yeah, gasterias.
What the heck?
Yeah.
Gaultheria, gasterias.
I love gasterias. They're one of the coolest plants. I just love them.
Well, you got somebody on the line. He should be at the flower show today. Dan, are you going to go to the flower show today?
Well, I was thinking of making a quick and efficient raid on the place a bit later on and cause a distraction someplace else.
Oh, I see. I see. Now, you're talking about my table.
Who knows what I'm talking about?
Anyway, Dan, no, I brought a few of my plants down there, and I think you'd enjoy that. But the gardens look great, and it'd be good to see you. I'm doing a walkabout at 1:15, something like that, 1:15. I'm going to be doing a walkabout talking about the history of the property. And gee whiz, you know what, Dan? I'm just inviting you here on the air in front of all these people listening. I'd like you to come down because you were a major force in developing those gardens and laying out the pathways. And it'd be interesting to get your perspective on the gardens as well.
Well, I might just do that.
I'd love to have you there.
Okay.
What have you got up your sleeve today?
Well, what's the fastest thing in the bird world?
The bird world? Fastest thing? A peregrine falcon.
Nope.
I don't know.
Anna's hummingbird.
Oh, are they?
Ooh,
They mean fastest speed? Like they could race anything?
Fastest speed.
Whoa.
The courtship flight of the male Anna's hummingbird is a J-shaped maneuver in midair, and at the bottom of that dive, it is the fastest thing in the bird world. What's the fastest thing in the plant world?
Oh, boy. Beans?
Sensitive plant.
No. That is the pollen of the white mulberry, Morus alba.
Okay.
Flowers are sort of catkin-like things, and the stamens release the pollen at an unbelievable 380 mile an hour speed.
Wow.
How does that happen?
Well, Morus alba is determined to get its pollen out there. So this is what happens. And in some areas it's a bit of a problem with people who have pollen allergies. But that doesn't concern the mulberry.
No, doesn't care.
And the mulberry, of course, Morus alba, is the main food of the silk moth.
Right.
Yes.
Wow.
I was doing a little bit of reading the other day and got on one of these mental walkabouts. So when the Aborigines of Britain were running around through the bushes screaming and yelling at each other, painted all bright blue, which the Romans thought was bizarre. At that time, the Chinese were weaving silk. So that gives you a little take on the age of civilization.
Little perspective, doesn't it? It's quite interesting. Yeah.
And silk is one of the most remarkable things that has been created. It brings us in a roundabout way to Tombstone, Arizona, which we've mentioned before on the Garden Show because it is the home of the world's largest rose.
Right. I remember that.
And it's also better known, I suppose, as the locale of the gunfight at the OK Corral. And that's not the OK Corral here in Kelowna, that's the one in Tombstone.
The original one.
Yeah,
and that is where Dr. George Goodfellow practiced in the 1880s.
Okay.
And he was famous as a surgeon. He lived in Tombstone, and he fully participated in the rather boisterous life of Tombstone.
Okay.
Drinking, gambling, carrying on, getting in and out of fights. But he was a highly respected, in spite of all that, highly respected surgeon. Went to the rescue of the victims of a 1887 serious earthquake in Mexico, just across the border. And he did a lot of such amazing work there that the then president of Mexico, Porfirio Diaz, sent him a special commendation, a silver medal, and a rather wonderful horse as a gift. But silk comes into the picture because one of the people that George Goodfellow worked on had been shot. And died. I mean, it's shotgun fairly close to the head. You gets into the brain, and then things start to go downhill quite rapidly.
No kidding.
But the interesting thing is that he discovered in his autopsy, the autopsy was sort of going on as the guy was dying, keep things fresh. George Goodfellow discovered that the silk neckerchief that was being worn prevented, it was impervious to bullet.
Ah. Really?
Yeah.
Silk. Interesting.
And he actually made a careful note of this, and in I think it was a California, there's a medical journal published in California, he wrote an article about this fact that silk provided substantial protection against bullets and cuts and pokes and other damage.
Like thick silk, not just that thin stuff, right?
Well, I mean, it wasn't that thick because it was made, as I said, a neckerchief.
Okay.
The fact, of course, has been known in Asia for centuries because the Mongol warriors who fought on behalf of Genghis Khan wore silk shirts. And it wasn't just to look pretty.
Isn't that interesting? That's something I didn't know, Dan. Now, just before we let you go, in harvesting silk from the mulberry tree, do you have to kill the silkworm?
I think that happens, yes.
Oh, dear. Oh, well, whatever.
And the cocoon is unwound.
Yeah, so it's
yes. So I think that's the end of the road for the.
Wow, interesting. I just wonder how they carry on with more silkworms. I mean, they got.
Well, I mean, the silkworm, Bombyx mori, as its proper name is, has been domesticated in China and in India for thousands of years.
There you go. Did they put? It's domesticated. Did they put little collars on them and go take them for a walk, or?
Oh, probably.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Dan,
yes.
we're gonna have to run here. But I appreciate that story on silkworms. That's pretty cool, and its connection to Tucson, Arizona, or not Tucson, Tombstone, Arizona.
Yes.
Dan, thanks a lot, buddy, and happy Canada Day to you.
And the same to you. We will connect a bit later.
I'd like to see you at the show. Okay, take care.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Dan. Bye-bye. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so Dan did have a lot to do with laying out the gardens at Gushigan in 1986, when it was all revamped and whatnot. So it's going to be nice to have him along on the talk with us. There you go.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
The talk and walk with Dan and Dawn. There you go. 250-862-2525 if you are listening in the Kelowna area. 1-888-780-4273 if you're listening from Victoria, Penticton, or anywhere online. This is how to get through to Ken and I today. We're very excited. It's the big flower show at Gushigan. It's the Kelowna Garden Club's 100th birthday this year.
It's amazing.
You spoke at their event early this spring, Ken, and did a heck of a job.
A lot of fun.
Heck of a job. And, it was... It's really a good year for them, a great year. 100. The club started in 1924.
Yeah. Wow.
A long time ago.
Amazing.
That was 2 years after my dad came to Kelowna.
Yep.
There you go.
Very cool.
Well, I have put some entries into the show. It was kind of fun to walk through. But, timing is everything. Timing is everything. And I'll talk about that when we come back, because we got to take a short break here. But and we do invite your calls. But,
when
if this was 2 weeks ago, I would have had a lot more show. You know, it's all timing.
Oh, yeah.
And every year is different. Like, one year I had my Aramuris, beautiful Aramuris, and I won big prizes for it.
Yeah.
Because it's very unique.
And it's already finished, or
it's
is it
done? It's just
already done?
Just the tips are showing now.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway,
too bad.
We are going to take a short break. We'll be back with the Garden Show after this short break. Well, you know, we talk about what goes on in our gardens pretty much weekly, Ken and I, back and forth. During the break we do, and also on the air, because that's what we do. We love to walk through the garden. And I remember Brian Minter saying the most important thing you have in your garden is a garden bench.
Oh, I thought you were going to say a gardener.
Yeah, that's important too. But a garden bench where you can sit and enjoy the garden, have a cup of coffee, and or tea or whatever, and watch. Just look at the garden and absorb the garden, right?
Well, that's sort of the reason that you have a garden is, for me anyway, I feel it's like peace and tranquility and just a little piece of nature.
Yeah. Here's the deal. And I mentioned this before a couple of shows ago. I said, look at gardeners out there, people listening to the Garden Show, give us a report. What's going on in your garden? What's good? What's bad? What's ugly? What didn't make it? What made it? Every year is different.
Yeah.
Every year in the garden is different. This year, in the greenhouse, I had some thrip problems.
Yep.
We're
finding
I had
thrips,
no whitefly.
Lots of thrips indoors this year, like in houses, and I'm finding them pretty much everywhere. So it seems like, and I did all winter, like through the winter months, I had thrips everywhere.
Well, you were the one that noticed it. Donnie did too. He came into the greenhouse and said, there's some thrips here.
Yeah. I guess the thrips are finally smartening up and saying like, hey, time to move indoors. This winter thing is for the birds.
Yeah, well, and like I said a couple of weeks ago, once I got my plants outside, the thrip issue started to diminish.
Yeah. Well, they move into flowers, right? Because they are a flower thrip, and their preferred life location, or the preferred home and areas to replicate, would always be in the flowers themselves. And so once you're outside, there's just flowers everywhere, so they're able to really proliferate. They do really like grassy plants as well, plants that have that sort of grassy effect. Like some of the palm trees are affected, and like gladiolas are one of the ones that can be really quite intensely affected.
You know, we talk about bees as being pollinators. The pollinators, of course, they're the most obvious.
Yeah.
We talk about ladybugs being predaceous to insects and aphids and things like that. They're the most obvious. Mm-hmm. But there are literally dozens and dozens, probably hundreds of beneficial insects out there.
Oh, yeah.
And hundreds of different. And a lot of the beneficials are also pollinators.
Yeah.
And I was looking at our zinnias, because our zinnias were looking, like in the one pot there, they were looking kind of funny, and I think they had some thrip. And I was actually going to go and spray with the permethrin, the synthetic pyrethroid, which is a safe product to use, something that's about the only thing left really on the market that is effective. And I was going to go out and spray them. But when I looked closely, that was on the leaf, a little
hoverfly.
Yeah, tiny little thing. I've blown it up big to show you. But a little tiny, it looks like, when I blow it up, it looks like a bee, but it's not. It's a tiny little hoverfly or syrphid fly, all these different. These are all predators. Now, this just tells me right off the bat, here I'm going to spray, right? And yes, this is a safe material, and it doesn't last long. It's not residual. It doesn't get into the environment. It's great.
But it would kill
it'll kill that guy.
That hoverfly would be history.
I left him alone.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm going to suggest, if you're going to spray something, spray at night, in the middle of the night, because most of the predaceous insects are flying in the daytime, right? Mm-hmm. And if you spray in the middle of the night, you can get your guys that are under the leaf, some of those guys, and these materials are not residual. They don't stick around too long. And maybe that's one way to get around this problem.
Yeah,
or
maybe.
Just leave them alone and let them go. Yesterday, I was visiting a friend. His maple tree was just sticky with maples. I mean, with aphids, I should say. Not with maples. Of course, maples. And sticky with aphids. Yep. And the ground was sticky. Everything was sticking to our boots. The leaves were sticking to our boots. And it was just loaded. And Carl was quite concerned. He said, Don, what are we going to do? What do I do? And I said, well, you know what, Carl? Just let them ride it out. Yep. Ride it out, because these are aphids. These are smorgasbord for the insect predators.
Yeah.
And they'll come in there and just have a ball.
Oh, yeah. And it's just, that's nature's natural progression. And, some years you'll have more abundance. This year seems to be a high abundance of aphids. But last year wasn't that crazy, and the year before wasn't that bad. But 3 or 4 years ago, I remember we had a real big rush aphids, and it just that's a cycle. It seems to be about a 3 to 4 year cycle where the populations build way up high, and then when you get that population of aphids really growing, what's right behind them is that population of beneficial insects, and then the beneficials come in and just wipe them right out. It doesn't matter how many there are. The more there are, the more beneficials there are. And they all fight it out, and of course, in the end, the beneficials win. The aphids are gone, and it takes about a 2 to 3 week period from peak aphid population to their complete demise. But yet they survive. There's still some that live, but the populations are way down by that time. You'll still see the damage. You'll see the dead aphids. You'll see little black bodies laying around. You'll see the little white flaky skins laying around.
And the parasitized bodies.
Yeah, you'll see sign of them. But then you try to look and see and actually find a living aphid, and it's pretty difficult to do. But I would say that's going to happen. Before the end of June, a lot of those aphid populations will be way down. And the beneficials will be way up, and then we might get one more cycle, maybe another little pop of aphids that come on in August, but then they're followed by another boost of the beneficials. As long as we're not spraying too much,
that's right.
Just
when
fine.
we come back after the break, I've got Pam to join us here. But when we come back after the break, I'm going to tell a story I've told before, maybe once or twice on the Garden Show. It's about Ken. I'm going to tell a story about you, Ken.
No.
Pam, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Happy Canada Day.
Yes, happy Canada Day as well. I, too, am walking in a yard with very sticky maple leaves, but I'm okay with it because I've heard you years ago speak about the just the patience it takes to wait out and let the life cycles happen, and totally good. I had a question about mulches relative to, like, rocks. I see some landscaping with rocks around the plants popped into a rock. I would call it a rock mulch, I guess.
They do call it rock mulch, yes.
Yeah. Opinions on preference, what the plant would prefer. Would a plant ever want a rock mulch around it?
Not very commonly. There are certain species of plants that are more desert-like here in the Okanagan, where we have very low organic content in our soils. And there's not a lot of compost on the surface of the soil. So, plants that would be more adapted to a desert environment would be more apt to, adapting to those conditions. But a lot of the plants we do grow in the landscape come from forested areas or from other parts of the world where there actually is organic content in the soil. And not only in the soil, but on the surface, which is the key important part. And that's the key in nature, is that there's natural forest litter that occurs on the surface. And this is really the secret to life and the secret to nutrients and the secret to literally all the biological activity and fungus and things that are part of nature that live in the surface of the soil. So it's kind of a no-brainer for people who sort of have a basic understanding of biology that an organic or compost-based surface mulch is definitely the way to go. That's going to be the healthiest thing for the plants. It's going to help hold moisture. It's going to add nutrients. It's going to feed the soil. All the little microbes that live in there are going to be happy campers. And so that's it in a nutshell. But really,
Pam, I'm one that would like to see cobble and rock mulch in little areas as more for aesthetics and appearance. It gives the contrast between the mulch and the rock is very cool. But as far as plant material, other than yuccas and a lot of the drought tolerant things like that, they would rather have the mulch around them. We're going to have to break here. We got the mid show break, Pam. But always good to hear from you. You're going to get down to the show today?
Yes, I'm hoping to get down, so I'll try to find you. And
Wonderful.
Look forward to that tour.
Yeah, right on. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much.
Look forward to seeing you.
Thanks,
Take
Pam.
care. Okay.
Take care.
And we are now going to take this short break in the middle of the garden show. We got a whole rip-roaring hour left after we come back, and we will be back with the garden show after this short break. Well, I kind of get wrapped up with all the new stuff going on in Kelowna with the huge population that we have now. But often, days like this, when we have the flower show, I go back in time. And I'm going to be doing a walk and talk at Gushigan. And another person with the last name of a family that goes way back in Kelowna is Maxine DeHart. And she is a city councillor with the city of Kelowna. Welcome to the show, Maxine.
Good morning, you guys. I just wanted to phone and say how I'm so looking forward to being to the Garden Club this afternoon on their 100th anniversary. I know, Dawn, that you're going to be there. I know we were tried to touch base last week, but so I'm going to represent Mayor Council in the city, and I'm really happy that you're going to be there.
Well, Maxine, I grew up in that area. And, I was born and raised just around the corner, and I knew we knew the family. We had 8 acres of land there when I was a kid on Ethel Street. And, but, when you're a kid, 8 acres of land, that's pretty nice, right? But there was 350 acres across Gushigan that was wide open spaces other than the home that is right at Gushigan Gardens and the other home with Alistair Cameron, the log house that's on Richter. Those two homes were the only buildings on that 350 acres. And
unbelievable.
Yeah, and we used to go and play around. But I've got stories to tell, and we're going to do that. And we always welcome you to come and represent the city. You do a great job of that, Maxine, and we live in a wonderful city. I mean, no matter, a lot of folks, you hear them, complain. You know what? I've been to a lot of cities, and I think Kelowna, everybody's doing a good job. They're doing the best job they possibly can.
Well, and I thank you for that, for your gracious words. That's really good. So, really exciting, 100th anniversary, 27th garden show. I really enjoy everyone in the garden club. I've learned a lot, actually, through my column, because I've written about them many times. And, so I've learned a lot about that. So it's going to be an exciting afternoon. I'm asked to be there. I'll be there about 1:45 and giving out some of the awards, which I'm pretty excited about. And, so I just wanted to say hi and to everybody in the audience that are listening and say what a great afternoon it's going to be. So, I'm looking forward to seeing you.
And, Maxine, we have Teresa Hodge, Charlie's dear wife.
Yes.
She is a member of the Garden Club now, and she's there organizing stuff at the show, so you'll be able to say hello to her, too.
Yes, and also Charlie's coming.
Oh, Charlie's coming, too. Oh, wow.
He's going to come.
There you go.
Excuse me, he's coming as a member of the garden show, but I definitely will introduce him as a member of council also.
Oh, absolutely. He's a giant. Yeah. Take care.
Thanks. See you soon.
Okay, girl.
Thanks, Max.
We'll see you later. Okay, bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
Yep.
Yeah, that's super exciting.
Yeah. Maxine's a hard worker. She's really works hard for the city, works hard for her day job as well, and writes that column in the newspaper. We got 2 columnists at the show, Charlie Hodge, Maxine DeHart. Very cool. So now you can text questions to 250-868. Pardon me, 250-878-6878. If you want to text those questions to, that's my phone, 250-878-6878. And you can text those questions to, and we can answer them on the air for you. There you go. And this is an exciting time for Donna and I with this new little baby. I'll tell you, we weren't expecting to have another grandchild at this late stage, but we're gonna, makes me want to drop a few pounds, live a while, watch this little gal grow up. Her name is Adrienne, and she is a beautiful, beautiful little baby. And we're looking forward to spending time with her. We're actually got a camping trip lined up for September. And so she better get her camping boots on for that.
Booties.
Yeah, yep. Camping booties. We one of the entries I put into the show, where in the show, if you want to enter something that's a little different, that's not lined up, it's just a special category, something different. And I entered two things. I entered my grandiflora magnolia, the Edith Bogue.
Yeah.
Not in great shape this year.
I was going to say.
The foliage, I'm calling it dappled or patinaed foliage.
Patina.
Because the winter was really hard. All the new foliage coming on, it was great. It's looking good. And lots of bloom. Lots and lots of bloom.
Okay, wow, nice.
Yeah. See, this is a magnolia, Ken, that the bloom bud doesn't overwinter.
Right. It produces flowers on new growth.
New growth. And so there you have it. There's a magnolia that had no effect from that. Although I lost half the tree because it's not really supposed to be hardy for this area. And I lost half the tree. But fortunately, the other half is there, and it's going to reform. Piece I had to cut off was going into the neighbor's driveway anyway, so there you go.
Yeah, and actually it doesn't really affect the shape, considering how much went.
Oh, it's not too bad.
It actually looks pretty good.
2/3 of the tree I took away.
Yeah.
And so that, I've entered that, and I've entered these three allium, onion blossoms,
Yeah.
And you explained to me why I've got no base to them. These were Spanish onions that I grew from seed last year, a year ago February, I planted those seeds, and they were red Spanish onions, a new variety that I usually grow. The other couple of.
All those like the Kelsey's
and
Elsa Craig's.
Elsa Craig and Kelsey, thank you. And these were a red one. They have the name, but I don't remember it. And so I planted those, and they didn't size up too much, but they did become little bulbs. So I took them in the fall, and I transplanted them into my other bed. And they have grown like stink this year.
Nice.
But there's no base. It's all top.
Yeah, it's all top.
It's all top.
That's the way they do when they go to seed. And that's the thing. It's a fine line. Yeah, I mean, you can grow your onions over the winter, but you just have to get them in late. They can't be planted early. They have to be seeded late, meaning August. And August seeding is a great time to do your onions. And you bring them on young and just as small little plants. They'll overwinter nicely right in the garden. And in the spring, you just dig them up, pull them all apart, put them in nice, neat rows, and you're good to go. But any of the ones that are maybe from earlier in the season, like if we grew those seeds starting at the end of January or in February, like we normally would do a lot of onions, then you would see those ones actually being way too mature and actually ready to come on the next year and flower, seed, and die. So yeah, they don't produce much of a base, that's for sure. You just get all top, all flower, and they're beautiful. I mean, the bees love alliums.
Yeah, I know. And you were saying that the onion changes taste a little bit.
Yeah, I find
it milder?
I would say it's actually stronger, but not in the heat range.
No.
Not hot, but in the rich sort of flavor spectrum.
We'll use them up.
Yeah, they're good for, I would say, for cooking rather than slicing. But it's just up to the individual. Onions are edible. That's the way it goes.
And a lot of folks have said to me, "Well, when do you harvest garlic?" Well, I think you just keep harvesting. I mean, I've harvested quite a bit of garlic already, and once you see the tips of the plants start to brown off a bit. Yeah. They're not going to grow too much more.
Yeah, generally that middle August or middle of July is the timing. I always just think July 15th. If I'm going to assess it, then if they're actively growing and looking fabulous, you can just let them go. I do like to dry them out a bit towards that end, start reducing water a little bit, stressing them out a little bit, getting them ready to be pulled. But ultimately, if they're happy, they can go a little longer. But most cases, by the middle of July, they're pretty much done. You can pull them, start to cure them a bit. Yeah,
they're one of the easiest plants that I've ever grown. I grew garlic when we first moved into our home here 25 years ago, and I've got a picture of me holding this nice harvest of garlic. And I've been growing garlic ever since in there. Enough for ourselves, enough to give away. I've already given a bit of garlic away. Mm-hmm. And speaking of giving away, I just had about 2 weeks of reducing my inventory in the greenhouse. When you grow in the greenhouse, as you know, Ken, you always grow way more than you're going to need because there are some fatalities, there are some issues along the way. You want to have lots of stock. And I had way more coleus and way more tomatoes and way more cucumbers and way more zinnias and way more sunflowers and I had all these plants, and I put a table up front and put a little sign on end of season clear out Burnett's, and I put all these plants out there, and they were just walking away. It was really quite fun to see, and we've had some fun with it. Anyway, we are going to take a short break here again. We invite your calls, 250-862-2525. And if you're listening in the Kelowna area, 1-888-780-4273 if it's a long-distance call. And if you want to text me for any questions rather than phone in, 250-878-6878. You can text that, and we will do it. We'll be back with the Garden Show after this short break. Right on. Well, I've got a couple of texts, a couple of them, and we're going to address them in a minute. But first of all, Angie is joining us. Angie, good morning.
Good morning. I was wondering if you could tell me what I could use for the whitefly on tomatoes.
Oh boy, you got some whitefly, eh?
Yep.
Yeah, they love tomatoes. I have had success doing two things. One of them is, and both of them actually, again, we talked about predaceous insects, beneficials. Both of these techniques will have an effect on our beneficials, but sometimes you just need to get on top of things and then let the beneficials take over after. Any spray that you have, the home and garden sprays that you see on the shelf that contain permethrin or tetramethrin, these are all synthetic pyrethroids that are very safe to use, and you can use them on edibles. That is somewhat helpful. These tomatoes, are they inside or are they outdoors?
They're inside.
Yeah, inside is... That's a tough call. Because there's not a lot of predators inside, that's the reason why they thin. My greenhouse a couple of years ago, I had so many whiteflies in there I couldn't breathe. They were so, and...
Okay. I'm sorry, they were outside right now.
They're outside, but they started out in your greenhouse?
Not the greenhouse, just the house.
In the house, yeah, in the house. Well, one of the things that I did do when they were in the greenhouse, and I could do it outside too, is using yellow sticky boards.
Okay.
And I trapped a lot of fly doing that. Mm-hmm. But if you look closely, you got other things on there that you don't want to get trapped.
You can take off some of the leaves that are badly infected.
That's right.
As well. Just because with the actual true whitefly, it does produce a little tiny larva that lives on the undersides of the leaves, and something that you can just remove some of those leaves.
Yeah, a little shot of one of those synthetic pyrethroids that you can buy, home and garden sprays you can buy at the garden centers in aerosol. The other one is Ambush, which has the same thing. But it's a tough one, whitefly. I haven't had the issue this year, whereas last year and the year before I had lots of whitefly. This year, I've got the thrip problem, and so it's if it's not one thing, it's the other. But overall, once you get them outside, and you don't do a lot of spraying, once you get them outside, those beneficials should start doing their job. And as Ken says, if you've got a leaf, look under the leaves carefully, and if you've got one that's loaded with larvae and with eggs and with whitefly itself, try and remove that carefully and put it in a plastic bag or bury it in the ground underground 6 inches deep, or in the green bin. Will be helpful. But it can be a problem. But usually, as we say, once you get them outside, beneficials generally take over.
Okay, thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome.
Yep.
Sorry we didn't have a magic wand for you, but that's the way it is. Thank you, dear.
Thanks for calling. Bye-bye.
Another another issue I've had, not this year, but I've had on cucumbers and a lot of other things, spider mite, two-spotted spider mite, and the McDaniel mite. And there's a few mites out there that come. But, like Don Stoll says, they hate water.
Yeah, so and I'd say white fly also hate water.
I think you could get some mileage out of that, couldn't you?
Yeah, well, it's consistency. Like when I used to grow hothouse cucumbers and tomatoes, that was a daily routine, was to spray all the plants on the undersides of the leaves with water. And, of course, it's helpful if it's nice and warm and in a greenhouse, then you shoot it up from underneath and just wash the leaves from the bottom. But when you do that day after day after day after day, eventually they're just like, all right, I'm moving. That's it. I've had it. I'm moving. Yeah. I'm not living here anymore. I can't handle this constant shower.
I don't want to be in the tropics.
I'm not a water bug. No. I need to have a dry spot. So yeah, definitely it deters insects, but it's a consistency thing. You need to do it every day.
Yeah, you can't just wash them off once and it's done. No,
correct.
And I did have a call a while back. It's hard to get the water spray under foliage. But, you can buy those wands that are curved up.
Yeah, they have the curved end.
And then if you get one of those spray nozzles, that the dram spray nozzles, and get the coarse one, not the real fine one, but the coarse one, and that will give it a nice coarse spray, and you can...
It'll knock the little insects right off of there, little bugs.
Yeah.
Yeah, it works great for aphids too, and it's just one of those things, like I say, it's a consistency thing. I used to have, I think, 400 tomato plants and about 300 of the cucumbers in these big greenhouses. And, doing them all every day. It became a chore, especially as they got bigger. But I'll tell you, not a single bug anywhere. Absolutely perfect foliage, not a mark, not a blemish. Absolute perfection. And that's top secret, by the way. Don't tell anybody.
No,
that's my secret.
Well, this isn't a secret because I've mentioned it on the Garden Show many years ago, and I'm going to say it again. Okay, when Ken and I first got together, he started working with me in the nursery, and we had just purchased a $1,200 spray machine, big tank, and you hauled it behind the little tractor, and it had lots of power, and it had a nozzle on it. That's like the real guys. I thought, now we're in business. We're gonna get these guys, eh? And I had done a weekly spraying with some endosulfan or thiodine, something like that out in the nursery, and just did what we do in the old days, just go out and spray, right? And it was relatively effective. It was quite effective, but we didn't know what we were doing. Ken comes on board, and one day I told him all about the sprayer, and he was very congenial. Oh, yes, well, that's very nice, Don. That's a pretty good sprayer, And and then one day I come out, and it was at the end of the day when Ken always hung around late, and when there were no customers, so he could
first to arrive, last to leave.
Yeah, and he was getting stuff together and making notes and what he's going to do. Anyway, I saw him out there in the nursery, and he's got this little 1 liter spray bottle, and he's squirting away with this 1 liter spray bottle. And my $1,200 spray machine was sitting in the garage. So I went out, hey, Ken, how you doing? What's going on? I said, I'm killing a few insects here. I said, well, we've got that big sprayer. And he says, I came out here and there's so many beneficials flying around. Look at this. There's a syrphid fly. There's this. And he was pointing them out to me. And I said, oh, really? And okay,
yeah, and that's the thing. I think is you have to make that decision. And for us in a retail situation, that's why I was so on top of it. I think was that because we were always concerned that we had retail customers coming through, and if we did get a couple plants, like say if you had 50 plants and one of them, just one out of the 50 was really heavily infested. Well, you very carefully remove it. Don't shake it. Don't take it out to a different spot, and then just spray that one plant, and then let it sit for a day, and then bring it back and put it back out for sale. Then it gave time for everything to get back to normal. But it was always a very sensitive situation, being that it was full retail and public access, and also just I was just blown away by the number of beneficial insects in that nursery, and it just got better and better and better the less we sprayed, right?
Yeah.
But there's always those things where you have to do something sometime if you're growing plants. So you still need the sprayer, and it's something about organic gardening is that you have to spray like mad all the time with organic gardening. It's the way it goes, but they're just organic pesticides, but they still are needed depending on your the type
the
of
timing
product.
is important. You have to learn about your target. You have to learn about the plants that they affect. Learn about when they're more susceptible to the insects and whatnot.
Look closely is the key.
It's an educational thing.
Yeah, you have to observe and you have to look very, very carefully.
Yep.
And it's amazing. Nature just naturally does its thing. It's just it is tricky. It's tricky in a retail environment. That's for sure.
Well, and the old days we used to get out the H-bomb and just blast everything.
Yeah.
And nowadays, no, we don't do that.
No, I remember the companies, they just would do these what were called blanket sprays.
Yeah.
And you'd sign up and they'd come to your property once a month and blanket the entire property end to end. And that was common. That was commonly done.
Blanket spray, yeah.
It was everything. Yeah. They did all the trees, all the shrubs, all the plants, all the flowers,
well, I remember asking,
all the lawns.
and I remember asking one of the sprayers, spray companies, they were in there blasting away, doing what they call a general spray.
Yeah.
I said, well, what are you spraying for? Well,
everything.
Bugs. Anyway, I had a great visit. We're going to take a short break here pretty quick here, and I'll talk about him when we come back. Roy Ueda, a friend from high school, or from elementary school, and he's just a few years older than I am. But we used to play a game in elementary school called marbles. Did you ever play marbles, Ken?
I played with marbles, but not.
Well, it was so big back in the 60s. Mm-hmm. I'd like to hear from anybody listening today. Did they play marbles on the school grounds? I think the kids are missing out.
That became illegal after a while, though, didn't it? Because of all the gambling problems.
Well, if there was money involved, I guess. But no, this is just kids
Grade
playing
5
marbles.
And you're in
I'll tell you what you do.
There,
the guy with the biggest marble bag was the winner.
Right,
because you win marbles.
Out.
You win marbles when you play. You win marbles. Okay, and I lost my marbles many years ago. Anyway, but Roy Ueda came by for a visit. We had a great visit in my garden, our garden, and it was so nice to see him. His family had Catter Avenue greenhouses.
Oh, okay.
And the Catter Avenue greenhouses stretched between at the end of Aberdeen Street and Glenwood's there. At the end of Aberdeen, Catter Avenue greenhouses went right through there to the alley and then right across to Catter. Right. It was called Catter Avenue greenhouses. It was right down the street from us. And they grew tomatoes and cucumbers and did their thing.
Nice.
And I can still see those greenhouses. I'd like to know if Roy has any pictures of the Catter Avenue greenhouses. Wow. I think that's very historical. Anyway, we got to take a short break here. We do invite your calls. We're having a great day. It's the Garden Show Day, and it's Canada Day tomorrow, right? Or is it today? Monday is Canada Day. Happy Canada Day to everyone. And we'll be back with the Garden Show after this short break. We are back with you. Beautiful Saturday morning. High overcast. Doesn't look like any rain for the show today. It's not going to rain on the show, but it is beautiful for taking pictures, and it's very comfortable. Room temperature out there, folks. It is a beautiful day to be at a garden show. And right there, just imagine this, and this is what my walk is all about and talk is all about. Just imagine, Elaine Cameron out in those gardens, right? And we have her diary. And we just finished talking about the fact that we don't spray much anymore. We do a little bit of spraying with organic materials, but not much in the way of any chemicals. Mm-hmm. And right off the bat, June the 3rd, June grass from rockery, top and dug above the wall, dug twitch from the gate to the trench, chloridane to celery and lobelia. Chloridane. I mean, that went off the market years ago. It was organochlorine. And, but in those days, that was the way you did things. And, it was just interesting to see some of that stuff. I've got a text here. Talking about playing marbles. We used to play them in the back alley beside our house on Coronation, close to Clement and Ethel. That would have been in 56, 58. Those were marble days. Back in the days, we used to play marbles in the schoolyard. And you mentioned something, too, that kids did. Jacks. We used to play ball and jack. We used to play that and bounce the ball and scoop the jacks. And some people could scoop 5 or 6 jacks at one time. It was quite something. That was in Raymer Avenue School. We used to do that.
Before video games.
Well, that's right. That's right. Okay, that's what's
cards. Even just card games. Have fallen away. Right?
They used to flip cards. My son and my kids used to have a game where they flip hockey cards or baseball cards up against the wall or something, and I never quite understood that. Yeah. So there you have it. The marbles, jacks, and hockey cards have been replaced by video games and texting and that sort of thing. It's a different world out there, folks. I'll tell you. My sweet potatoes are going crazy that I got from Teresa.
Oh, nice.
Teresa Hodge. And Teresa's at the flower show today, and Charlie will be there as well. So, but no, those sweet potatoes. And those sweet potatoes I got from her, they're sweet potatoes that she bought a sweet potato at the store.
Oh, yeah.
And propagate it and let it grow. And the little cuttings from that are what I have, and they've really done.
Yeah, well, they sure love the warmth, so I'm sure to produce nice potatoes, they just have to warm up a bit. And they seem to also appreciate humidity, so they're probably doing very well this year in comparative, like, say, to some years when it's been so dry. I mean, we're comparatively dry compared to other parts of the country, that's for sure, but still, it's often... It can be very, very dry here.
I've been enjoying the moisture, though. This last year, it didn't rain a drop from June right through to September practically.
Yeah, it was even earlier. I think it was April.
Yeah.
In April when the last rain happened, and we didn't get anything to the end of September. Yeah.
You know what? I am really enjoying the summer pruning process on my kiwis and grapes. I am not letting anything grow out and do that thing that they do, those long, elongated growths. I'm not letting any of those grow. And they're neat and tidy. They look great, and the fruit and the berries, or the grapes and the kiwis are looking really great.
Nice. And your grapes, they came back and started producing after the winter damage?
The grapes are doing quite well. But these are Labruscas.
Yeah, they're seedless varieties.
Seedless varieties. Arkansas Reliance is one, and the other one is Einset. Kiwis are looking great, other than the fact that I lost a whole kiwi vine. But that I don't think was the winter. I think it was that vine had a restriction in the stalk.
Yeah, it had some sort of a canker or something going there.
We've got line one, Addie. I believe you called in earlier, but here you are again.
Yes, I called, and I question: is it too late to plant potatoes?
No, you can go ahead and plant them right now.
Okay, I've got 2 great big buckets, and a neighbor just gave me 3 potatoes that have beautiful eyes on them, and I hate to throw them away.
Oh, sure, why not? Give it a try. They typically they're fine. Like I often start planting very early, and I do a run of potatoes about every 4 weeks right through the season, and so even into the fall they'll keep on producing.
So if I plant them now, when do you think they'll be ready by?
Should be about 60 days, I think, or 50 days, somewhere in that range.
Yeah,
and you might be able to get some babies, like some little potatoes, in about 40 days. So.
Yeah, that's what I want, little potatoes.
Yeah, so not too far. Yeah, just got to check them before you dump them out. Just especially if they're in a pot, because the potting soil, like I used to use a recycled potting soil for that, and I would just dig in and just check them, and see before I went all in. I would just see like, oh yeah, they're just about right, and also when they flower, right, once they come through the flowering process.
Yeah.
They come on, they bloom, and just as soon as the flowers are finished, usually your potatoes are going to be about a golf ball size, maybe slightly bigger, depending on how much you feed them. because they do appreciate food in those pots.
So you have to feed them, like, what do you feed them with?
Just standard fertilizer. They're not particular. They just need a little bit of food.
You mean Don's favorite 20-20-20?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah, they're good. Just because they're in pots, they just don't have an alternate source or any way of getting food.
Great. And you said you use recycled soil, like soil that's already been gone through a season.
Yeah, that's right. Well, with this shortage of peat moss out there, that we're just trying to recycle every bit we can, and so most potting soils, you have them left over from the previous year. You can replenish with some new soil, but also saving any soil that's maybe spent or you're done with it. I always keep that and then use that for experimenting, right? Trying these growing potatoes and that sort of thing.
Super. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Addie.
Yeah, you too.
Good to hear from you. Take care.
Thanks, Addie. Bye.
And we welcome Vicki to the show. Good morning, Vicki.
Good morning. I have a question. Am I the only one not getting pollinators around my tomatoes? I've got 5 tomato plants. I've got one little tiny bud of a tomato, a little wee tiny thing, and we don't see any bees around.
No, not many insects around, just in general. So it's but the tomatoes are often going to be blooming and setting fruit based on nighttime temperatures, and it's been a little cool at night for the tomato group. So some of them are not super happy with that. So they're still growing, and that's the key, is keep them vigorous. So just keep feeding them and keep them looking nice and healthy. And sooner or later they'll get into a run where they get a week or two of nice warm evenings, and that will really trigger the flowers to start setting fruit. And then at that point you wait your generally 60 to 70 days.
Okay.
For
It'll
full
be
size.
winter.
Yeah.
Where
then you shovel a path out to the tomato plants.
Where are you located, Vicki?
We're up Glen Rosa Road.
Okay. Well, I'm going to suggest, too, is this the same varieties you've been growing every year?
No, I have different varieties, and sometimes if I buy tomatoes in the winter, if I like that tomato, I'll save seeds.
And that sometimes works, but not always, because sometimes they're hybrid and they don't come true. But here's the deal, Vicki. I haven't had that much of an issue. I haven't seen a lot of bees, but boy, oh boy, the tiny little pollinators that are out there that we don't see are doing the job. My kiwis are loaded. And, there was no bees in there, but there's pollinators, obviously, and the wind pollinates as well. Yeah. And we've had lots of wind this year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we have lots of wind up here, almost blowing them over.
Yeah. Well, and, Dad used to go through the greenhouse and shake the vines to help pollinate. So
because in the greenhouses, they wouldn't have any pollinators or even air movement was not a lot. There's some air movement, but definitely you're using a little paintbrush to go along and to spread the pollen.
Or a Q-tip or something, Yeah.
Oh, maybe I'll do that.
Yep.
This year I decided to put them in big pots.
Right.
And so I have big pots of them along the retaining wall.
Right.
And then I started to think, well, maybe that wasn't a good idea because, as I say, I've only got one little tiny pea-sized, not even pea-sized tomato on one plant.
Right. Well, I grow a lot of my tomatoes and cucumbers in pots, but also in the ground, and both are doing pretty good. I got way more tomatoes than I need, but I like to try all these different varieties so that I know what to do next year.
Right.
Okay, Vicki?
Okay, I just was kind of wondering if it was because they were in pots that they weren't happy or something.
If somebody's listening out there and has the same similar story, they can give us a call.
Okay,
thanks, Vicki.
Bye.
Yeah, thanks for calling.
Now, we're getting right up to the time where we've got to take that short break. Do you want to do that now or take the next caller? What do you want to do? Do you want to take a break? Yeah, we're going to take a break. Jack, hang on there because we want to talk to you at great length when we come back with the Garden Show after this short break. We are back with you on a beautiful Saturday morning. I see some blue sky out there, Ken. Some blue sky coming over. Yeah,
it's peaking.
And it's just about to fall over Knox Mountain right now. And I believe Jack is phoning in. And I believe it's the famous Jack, the Beanstalk Jack. Is it? Hi, Jack.
Is it too late to put them in? I took them out and put them in a different area this year. They're not coming along, but I've got to. Is it too late to put beans? The lady was talking about potatoes. Is it too late to put beans in now?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
You can still do them now. They're not really doing much. It's not been the best year for any of these warm crops, because as soon as it started getting warm, then the weather turned and it got cold, and we've had weeks and weeks of cold. So my beans are up. They're only about 6 inches tall. So you know how fast beans can grow. So you could plant them today, and in a week or two, they'd be probably bigger than mine.
Jack, the beans you gave me are up 3 feet and growing like stink.
You got them in a good spot.
They're growing like stink.
Yeah. Now you got them in a warm, good soil. I'm sure your soil's great. Yeah. I moved them. I put dahlias where I had them in last year, and I've never seen the dahlias grow like this.
Mm-hmm. Now, fantastic. Jack, remind me what kind of beans you gave me, because
I don't know what they are. They're not string beans, and they're not little beans. They're big beans. And
big beans.
And when they grow, or even when they get big, you want to dry it out. But even when they get big, they're very good to eat.
Tender.
They're really good.
Yeah, right on. So it's a bean. It's a variety you've had for years, and you just keep.
No, I got it in Barcelona. That's why I call them Barcelona. I got them.
Oh, you smuggled them in.
Yeah, I know. I didn't realize that. You shouldn't bring beans in, but I'm an old guy. What are they going to do?
Boy.
So I've got them, and I put them in last year, and I got them in March, and I put them in, and they grew, I don't know, 25 feet high, from the basement through the living area and right up to the roof.
Jeez.
Barcelona. Wow. Now I'm going to really watch these things, because it's something new in the garden. So I think we talked about the fact that we've had really relatively cooler evenings, cooler weather up until this point. And when you get that heat coming on, Jack, I think those beans are going to fly.
Okay, and calla lilies, how the calla lilies doing?
Oh, they're doing great. I'm really enjoying the calla lilies.
If you want some more, I got more.
Oh, there you go.
I put them in, and I can't bear not to put them in. So they're all over the garden now, and they're just coming up, and they're beautiful. The ceramic-like flowers are just gorgeous.
Aren't they nice? They are a nice plant. They're quite exotic, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and they last, I would think, 5-6 weeks, and then they sort of die down, and they bend over, and they've said that's it for this year, and you wait until the fall, dig them out, and start all over again in the spring.
Yeah, lots of fun. Beautiful. Now, Jack, I've got the yellow and the white. Do you have any other colors, or just
no? I'm sure if you, I don't look it up, but I'm sure if you looked it up, there'd be different colors as well. But the yellow, and I gave you yellow too, did I? Okay.
I got yellow and white. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've got yellow and white too. And like I said, I bought these at Home Depot, I'm sure, 10 years ago. Just a handful, and now I've got about 50.
Yeah, there you go. Well, anyway,
give them away to 3 or 4 people, including yourself.
Yeah, so. I always appreciate a garden trade, and that was good. And maybe there's something I can give you at some point.
Well, your advice is good enough. Thanks,
buddy.
Boys.
Okay.
I'll let you go along now.
Take care.
Thanks, Jack.
Bye, Jack. Yeah, he's a good friend, and been around Kelowna for a long time. Mm-hmm. Taught school here and did a good job. Well liked.
Lots of flowers. Holy.
Yeah. Oh, I know. He grows a heck of a garden.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Unreal. So forgot to ask him if he's going to come down to the flower show today. The flower show will open its gates about an hour from now, an hour and a bit, and they will open the doors, and you can go in and see all the exhibits, people that have entered exhibits, and they've been judged, and the prizes will be given out later this afternoon. But it's not just the flower show. This is the fact is that this event happens at a very historical piece of property in Kelowna that has been here, since the Europeans came. The Lord and Lady Aberdeen were the first purchasers of this property, and then of course the Camerons took over after that, and now the city of Kelowna owns it. But it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool piece of property, and the gardens look great. Everything's neat and tidy, and lots of flowers, lots of blooms, a lot of blossoms. And I'm going to be doing the little walkthrough. I'm going to take people. I've got a little speaker with me so that you can hear what I say. I'm actually going to have a collage of pictures, too, of the gardens back in Elaine Cameron's day. I'm going to have a copy of her, a couple of pages of her diary that I'll hand out to people, and they can read that.
Nice.
If you can read her writing, she's got that old English writing. That's quite something. But I get through it. And, it's going to be a great day today. And so we absolutely invite people to come out. And kids, too. There's lots there for kids to enjoy. And there are booths set up with the Bonsai Club is there, and a number of other clubs are there. And there's some vendors there that are selling gardening, gardening-related items and things like that.
Yeah, fabulous.
Yeah, and Maxine DeHart, Charlie Hodge will be there, a couple of Kelowna City councillors. They've been very supportive to it. And, it's a
nice day.
Yeah. Yeah, the days are getting shorter, Kent, now. The days are now getting shorter. By little bits and pieces.
We've been waiting
little bits and pieces, okay?
long for these long days.
I know. Well, the long days stay for quite a while.
Yeah.
If you have anything that you want to bring into blossom, like poinsettias or garden mums or something, you want to bring them in early, you can start shortening the days now. You can actually start shortening the days on some of these things to trigger the blossom early, you know. And I've got a few plants that I'm going to be doing that with. But getting the blossoms started early, which is those light sensitive things like poinsettias and like mums, chrysanthemums and things. They're very easy to govern because the short days will trigger the bloom.
Yeah, and it's just the trick is that when it's nighttime, it's got to be dark. And
it's got to be dark.
Can't be interrupting it by turning the lights on or anything like that. So it is a little tricky, but you can do amazing things.
Yeah.
If you have time and you're there every day, you can do those things.
Well, it'd be fun to do that too if you have a chrysanthemum, for instance, in the ground, especially the ones that you buy as a potted floral chrysanthemum, and you've got it planted in the garden. They come back every year, but sometimes they need short days sooner because they're not timed for the garden. They're timed for greenhouse production. And so if you put 4 posts around it with some black poly, a little black poly tent that you can put over top of that plant at 5:30.
You could fool it.
Yeah, 5:30, 6 o'clock at night, and about 7:30 in the morning, take the thing off and let them have the full day of sun. And do that for a couple of weeks. You will get them triggered into blossom, into bloom.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think one thing that say for hardy plants, a lot of the growers and breeders are trying to get plants to break those habits and just become more free flowering. Like the chrysanthemum group, the garden mums and whatnot now are many of them,
they'll bloom in July.
Yeah, even end of June they're starting to bud. So but not the florist ones. The florist ones are very managed and they only bloom late in the season if they're in the garden or if they're artificially stimulated to flower. So yeah, pretty cool.
Well, again, I invite people to come to the show today. I know that if you're listening in Victoria, you're not going to be able to just hop in the car and come to the show. Folks in Penticton could come down, though. Come up to Kelowna for the show.
Yeah.
Vernon, anybody
listening out there?
Yeah, because it is quite the show and quite the historical piece of property. I'm going to be doing my walkabout about 1:15 somewhere there.
1:30, I think, is what they were saying on the radio this morning when I was coming in to join
1:30.
you at 1:30. So you better be on there at 1:30.
Well, I'll be there a little early to gather my flock. And
you'll get started. You'll get some bonus information is what will happen.
Yeah. I'll give extra stories. Some of the stories I have to tell as well are stories of when I was a little guy growing up in that neck of the wood, chasing sheep.
And those some of those trees and plants were actually there.
Oh yes,
still.
And
there.
I point those out.
Yeah,
the linden. There's a
Are
sorbus.
those cedars all gone now?
The original ones are gone, but they planted some new ones, and they've gone to excelsa cedars.
Oh, okay.
Which can be problematic on a cold winter, but these guys were fine. Yeah. They were fine. They've gone through. The old original cedars did decay, and they went kind of bad. So here we are, starting the garden tips and plants to end the show. Well, my tip of the week this week is to attend the garden show. That's a pretty simple tip, but come to the flower show and enjoy it. My plant of the week is the Monarda Petite Purple. I bought this plant about 4 years ago, and it comes up every year, nice and mounding. It behaves itself, doesn't spread around, And that is my plant of the week.
All right, I also have a tip on the plant. My tip of the week is don't be too concerned if your plants are not producing or not growing well. It just hasn't been warm enough yet. And so keep your fingers crossed, and we'll get a little bit of warm weather coming down the pipes here, and things should kick into gear once we get a bit of that warmth. All right, my plant of the week this week is the lily group, all the different types of lilies. Lilies are just a beautiful touch to the garden. They're just one of the most lovely plants. Great cut flower, too, and many different varieties that start early, mid, and late season. So try some lilies if you haven't. They multiply nicely. That's my tips and plans for this week. Remember to check growercoach.com, Grower Coach on YouTube.
You betcha, Ken. And this every week I do my little Shigo tip of the week or quote of the week. Mm-hmm. And this week, the book that he wrote was written 25 years ago. And so computers were a little bit early at the time. So his quote is, to test the translation features of a computer, an English message was translated to Russian, then back to English. The message was, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. It came back as the whiskey is cheap, but the meat is rotten. Oh. There we go. We are now going to head out and go to the show. We'll see you next week with more of The Garden Show.